Welcome to the Psychic Time Traveller podcast. I am a psychic who has seen over 80 of my past, present and future lives, and it is my mission to teach people about the healing power of seeing your other lives. Hello, welcome to the Psychic Time Traveller podcast. Today we welcome Elizabeth to our podcast. Elizabeth is a quantum healing hypnosis technique practitioner, or QHHT for short. She has been facilitating past life regressions for over a decade. 12 years ago, she healed herself naturally from a chronic illness, and ever since then, she has made it her mission to help others to self-heal and to help empower people by connecting to high consciousness through QHHT. Hello, Elizabeth. Welcome to the Psychic Time Traveller podcast. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Hello, Ashley. It's so lovely to be here with you. Thank you so much for asking me to come on your podcast.
Oh, absolute pleasure. Thank you for everything. I can't wait to talk about the journey that we shared together and your life's work.
I know there's so much to talk about today.
Yeah.
Should we start with how you came to a QHHT session with me 2 years ago?
Yeah, that sounds like a good place to start.
Okay, so you came for a QHHT session with me 2 years ago in 2022, and I'm just curious as to what prompted you to book in to have a QHHT session with me.
Yeah, totally. So 2021, I'll just keep it short, but my listeners know and my followers on my Facebook page know that in 2021 I had a massive spiritual awakening and through soul recognition, where I met my own soul in another body. Crazy as that sounds. Ever since then, I've had the ability to see my other lives. So I've seen it over 80 now. So over the past 3 years, I've seen 80, yeah. But by the time I went and saw you, I probably maybe seen 20 or 30 lives. And
Yes.
when it was happening to me, it was just, I was just having these spontaneous memories of other lives. And I didn't really know much to do with reincarnation really before it all, that there was literature to go out and read, and I started telling my close friends and family and stuff about it. And my mum had said to me, have you read anything by Brian Weiss, Many Lives, Many Masters? And she said that her spiritual awakening, 20 years ago or something, started when she read that book. And she said it's exactly explaining what's happening to you. The only difference is that the people who were recounting these past life regressions, they were hypnotized, but you're just having them by yourself. So I started to look into that, and then from there I found out about Dolores Cannon. In all honesty, I haven't read a lot about Dolores Cannon's work. I've read bits and bobs. I haven't actually sat down and read one of her books yet, but I have read excerpts and things like that. But someone else maybe, so when I started having these regressions, and still now, I have them through meditation. So I never try and have them, they just happen. I have them through meditation, but I also I'd go to an acupuncturist, and that's one of my episodes that's coming up, or I go and have Reiki or something, not expecting anything to happen, and I'd start having these regressions. And I think one of those practitioners had said to me, have you heard of QHHT? So I looked into that. And actually, no, you know what? It was my mum as well, because she had liked your Facebook page.
Oh,
And
wow,
she had seen your post on, I think maybe the Swansea Belmont Facebook group or something like that. So she had known about you. Yeah, so it was my mum both times. I just remembered that. I forgot all about it. And she said, yeah, you should go and check this out. And I just thought, I'm having all these memories myself. And I'd read Brian Weiss's book, and he's just amazing. He's one of my favorite famous people. I've only got two favorite famous people, and it's him and Michael Singer, who's this sort of presence guru. And yeah, I thought, wow, if he what he got out of his hypnosis patients, I was like, imagine what people would get out of me if I was hypnotized. So I really wanted to explore being hypnotized and see, I get so much information just from not even trying. I was like, it must go next level. Must go absolute next level if I get hypnotized. So that's what really led me to you, because I wanted to see what would happen. And it's not just for fun and games, I might say that. That's really important to tell the listeners. It's really cool that I see my other lives, and I've mostly seen past lives. And that's really awesome, but it's not oh, cool, that's what's happened in another life. I've found through seeing all these lives, it always links to something in my current life.
Yes.
And it creates a healing of some respects,
Mm.
particularly with me physical, because I've had a lot of sickness
Yeah.
throughout my whole entire life. I've always had some physical, ailment, and
Mhm.
we'll get to it. But one of the main things that I was trying to heal at the time was my infertility. I've been trying for a baby for 4 or 5 years.
Mhm.
So I had these visions by myself, but I didn't think I'd peeled back enough layers.
Mhm.
The way I like to explain it, and I'm not the only one who explains it like this, is that when I see the energetic body, it basically has layers of sludge um, stuck onto it, and that's been
Right.
accumulated over lifetimes. So if you don't let go of trauma and stuff from other lives, it gets into your cell memory, your physical cell
Mm.
memory, and stays with your physical body and causes physical illnesses and things.
Mhm.
So there was a lot that I needed to clear. I knew that through my chakras and stuff, and infertility was the biggest one that I wanted to conquer.
Mm.
So even though I'd had all these visions and I'd had stuff that was linked to infertility, it hadn't cleared it. Like if you read Brian Weiss's book, sometimes the people he hypnotized, like particularly in his second book, what is it? Same Soul, Many Bodies. I love that book.
Mhm.
Some people when they're hypnotized and have a past life regression, they'll have a regression and then it'll be healed. Something that they linked to a past life. I remember I read one about this lady had cancer in her spine and then she had a past
Mhm.
life regression back to Roman times and she was trampled by a horse and cart and her back was
Yes.
crushed. And
Mhm.
once she had that realization, her cancer, like not like overnight, but
Mhm.
within the next few months, her cancer was cured because she'd
Mhm.
made that correlation. Whereas I'd made correlations between other lives, but I was still suffering from infertility. So that was the
Mhm.
main reason I came and saw you.
Yes. Can you tell us, like, what did you experience during your QHHT session?
Yeah, so I did. I'm going to talk about the one with the that was linked to the infertility first. Um, I went. I think I saw two lives really in depth,
Mhm.
and then I mentioned a few other lives. I reviewed, like I listened back to and I read over the notes of our QHHT session just yesterday, and I'd
Mhm.
forgotten all about the fact that there were a couple of other lives that that I'd experienced, and I was like, wow, they can be added to the list now. So that's taken it to 82. But the one that's probably had one of the biggest profound effects on me as Ashley is the second one I had with you. So, the second life we were taken into was a German lady named Hilda, but I was calling her Hildy as a nickname.
Mhm.
And it's good. I want to point out to people and you because you wouldn't know about this that I had the visions with you, but just because you have a vision, or with me anyway, just because I have a vision of a life doesn't mean I just have that vision and I don't ever see it again. Which is funny because that's what I thought would happen when I started having the visions. I remember for you, I went and saw another hypnosis person, and they go through the rigmarole of they take you to a place and they say open a door and who do you see, and look down, and I remember seeing an incarnation that I already knew about. I've already saw him,
Mm.
and I even said to my higher self, I already know about him, like it was a World War I soldier. I was like, why is he here? Why am I learning about him again? You've already shown me his vision, like, because I'd seen his death day and everything. But what I learned, like I learned so much more through that experience. So yeah, you don't always just have the experience in the hypnosis. You can, like, I've
It
had
will
years
keep getting
apart.
built upon.
Yeah, years
Yeah.
apart where I've had a vision, and then years later I've had another vision of that same incarnation that's built on the story.
Mm.
I was saying that my higher self, Johannes, he explains it as it's like painting a beautiful picture one bit at a time. So with Hilda, she was a German housewife, and before she was a German housewife, she was very much like me before I was a mother, and even before, like me 10 years ago. So I used to live in England, for example, and I did a fair bit of traveling, and that's my favorite thing to do, travel. And she just loved traveling, and I wouldn't say she sat down and meditated like me, but she was living a meditative lifestyle. Like she would do walking meditations, and she was very present and in and now, and she was very happy. But she had these expectations put upon her by her family, by her brothers. They used to tease her, and her mum and dad used to have a go at her, and her sister. that she wasn't married, and it was the 1960s, and she was 26, and it was just not the done thing to. They were worried that she was going to be a spinster. So basically, Hilda's sister, who is my sister, Terry, in this life, my older sister. And it's funny because, sometimes you have these visions, and I remember saying to you, is that even a German name, Jemima? And you say these names and things, and you're like, no, that doesn't make sense. And then you Google it, and it's like, oh, actually, that is a very
It
common name
is.
in Germany, Jemima. So after the session, I went and Googled it. And then I didn't know this. When I was telling my sister about it, she's like, do you know that's one of my favorite names? I was like, what? So Jemima is one of my favorite names. One of her best friend's daughter is named Jemima. And I'm like, you're joking. So, and that was her past life name, Jemima. So there's always little links like that. Anyway, she had this pressure to get married, and she was set up with the guy next door. Now, in our QHHT session, Elizabeth, I didn't mention that he lived next door. This is what I mean. This is something that I found out later,
Later. Yeah,
and
so interesting.
I found it very interesting too that the way I sort of structure when I write about my experiences, I don't write about them. A lot of people like Brian Weiss and that they write about them in terms of topics like overcoming love or overcoming fear or things like that. I write about them in terms of soul relationships because I seemed shocked at the time to see somebody in my family appear so clear, like so closely connected to me in both of those lives that I saw. But you did ask me, you asked a series of questions that we didn't record. You ask a whole bunch of questions about, what's your relationship like with your family? Is anyone with you clash with and everything? And I said that I clash with my brother Geordie, which I do, and I still do
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
this day. Actually, at the moment, I've not been in contact with my brother for a year. But that's another story. He's at conflict with the whole family at the moment. And I was shocked to see that in both their lives that he was my spouse. So in that life, he was my husband, George. And in the other life that we'll talk about, he was my wife, Martha. And I remember saying to you, oh, ew, gross. I'm married to my brother. And I guess that, like, a lot of people who don't know much about reincarnation or just have, like, a sort of, they're interested in reincarnation, but they don't know too much about it. They don't realize that the roles change. So,
Yes.
people
Yes.
like to have
It
this
is
romantic,
common.
yeah, like people like to have this romantic view that, like, oh, I love my husband so much. I hope he's my husband in every life. Like, for example, my husband, I've seen him in about 5 lives now. And most of those lives, he has been my romantic partner. But in one of the lives, actually about 6 lives, one of the lives, he has just been my friend.
Mm.
And another one of the lives, he's been my brother. So, it's not always the same. So, I guess for some people, that would be a shock to see that they were married to their brother. So, yeah. And Hilda had a really tumultuous relationship with George, the husband. And I'm not surprised because I still have a tumultuous relationship with my brother. And
Mhm.
it was a lot of domestic violence, and it was a marriage of convenience. And I remember saying to you, and because I read the notes last night,
Mhm.
my higher self kept talking about Ezio Trot, which is a Roald Dahl book. And I'm like, what the hell does that have to do with anything?
Mhm.
And I'm like, I don't even know if I've read that book. And I went and Googled it, and I'd already had the vision that George had lived he was our next door neighbor, my family's next door neighbor, and then my sister had set us up. But Ezio Trot is about like neighbors. And I was
Right.
like, wow, okay, that's
Mhm.
why you were talking about Ezio
Yeah.
Trot. It's a lot, it's about other stuff too, but it
Mhm.
had a link to do with neighbors. So he was trying to give me a hint that way.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she married this guy. They had 5 kids. Her youngest one died. Oh, no, not her youngest one. No, that was her younger brother who died of pneumonia. They had 5 kids under 10. And I just remember
Mhm.
feeling, and I hate to, it's hard to say, but I just hated, like, I loved my children. I really did.
Mhm.
But being a mum to 5 kids under 10 is
Mm.
hard.
Hard
It's
work.
really
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
hard. And I had no
Mhm.
help because my
Mhm.
husband was a bastard. I remember saying
Mhm.
that very clearly. He was Italian. I
Yes.
remember calling him a bastardo.
Mhm.
And he was just no help. And I was just in this humdrum of like every day, like just a
Yeah.
groundhog day of just living the
Yes.
same day
Yes.
again
Yeah.
and again and again, and
Mhm.
not having any freedom. And I was just
Mhm.
a mum. That was it.
Mhm.
And I I remember I saw it so clearly. It was like one of those early dust busters, like a vacuum cleaner. And I was vacuuming, and I remember holding the handle so tight and feeling the vinyl in my hands, and just sort of hating life. And I guess what I'm trying to say is what I learnt through Hilda is that she was happy when she had what I had had as Ashley. So the
Mm.
traveling and the freedom and being able to meditate and things. And here I was as Ashley, dying to be a mother
Yes.
and putting so much focus on that's where my happiness was going to come from.
Mm-hmm.
And she was telling me, yeah, being a mum's not all that's cracked up
Yes.
to me.
It's hard
Being a
work.
mum's hard. And I'm going to be honest with you, I love being a mum too.
Yeah.
But it hit me like a freight train. Like in this
Yeah.
life, it hit me like a freight train. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, what I want to say is that it's really funny because after that, I had that experience with you and that vision. I could let it go. I could go, you know what? Maybe it's not all what it's cracked up to be. And
Mm-hmm.
like, I think within that week, I'm not even joking, within that week after I saw you, I had a big chat to my husband and I was like, let's just hold up about the baby.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to let it go.
Mm-hmm.
It's her bedroom now, but we had for years we had this bedroom set aside for the baby.
Yes.
And I had said to him the day before I found out I was pregnant, I broke down in tears and I walked into the room with him and I said, I can't do this anymore. I can't keep I'm going to get teary now. I
Yeah.
can't keep leaving this room for this baby that might not ever come.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I need to fill it with some stuff, turn it into an office or something.
Yeah.
I'm ready to close the chapter and on this and walk away for it. And I was
Mm-hmm.
really at peace with it. Honestly, for the first time in
Yeah.
5 years, I was at peace with not being a mum.
Mm-hmm.
And that week, so literally the week of me having this QHHT session with you, we organised our honeymoon. So we got married in late 2022 and I had the session with you in April of 2022. We organised a round the world trip.
Yeah.
And because I love traveling, but I hadn't traveled in 10 years or so at that time. And I said, I just knew that that's what Hilda would have wanted,
Mm-hmm.
She'd even travelled to some of the places that I loved. And it made sense. Like when I lived in England, I went to Switzerland. It was just one of the places on my tour. And I thought I didn't think I'd find it very interesting at all, but it ended up being my favourite country that I visited. And Hilda actually loved skiing on the Swiss Alps. So I was like, oh, that makes total sense. And that's one of the things I did. I went and snowboarded on the Swiss Alps and stuff. So I was like, let's do this. Let's book it in. He paid for it, non-refundable trip. And within 3 weeks of having a session with you, I found out I was pregnant. Yeah. And it was like the first time I'd stopped trying for a baby. I'd been
Yes.
following all these ovulation charts and,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
eating really healthily and all that stuff. And I just let it go. And I just thought, let's just enjoy life. And
Mm-hmm.
you didn't go and be elated. But I was like, oh man, what about my honeymoon? Yeah. So we never got to go on the honeymoon because I was heavily pregnant by that stage that we booked it in. Luckily, I got a refund on it, even though it was non-refundable. They just used the COVID thing. They could still
All
use that
right.
at the time.
Yes.
But yeah, this is what I'm trying to tell people that
Mm-hmm.
this is the healing power of being able to see your past lives. If I didn't have that memory of what it was when I was Hilda and seeing how hard it was as a mother and letting it go,
Mm-hmm.
because this is what I've come to learn. Even just recently, that this is the whole reason, in particular, that I'm seeing other lives, is because the whole purpose of it is that we need to let go of our other incarnations. We need to
Yes.
focus on our own incarnation.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, like I said, we hold on to their traumas and
Mm-hmm.
then they manifest into physical ailments or
Mm-hmm.
emotional things that really affect us. And we should just be, I mean, could you imagine how much happier and healthier we'll be if we were just
Oh yeah,
focusing on us
definitely.
and not carrying these things with us? So that was my amazing experience from that, but that was only one life.
Yes.
Something else that I'd seen that hadn't came up, I did see other soul relationships of people in my life. I saw that my brother Jackson was potentially an old flame that I should have married. And I
Mm-hmm.
told you about that. But something that came through later was that my youngest was a baby. And I remember telling you that she was a baby at first and she had peach fuzz hair, like Peach Fuzz's hair.
Mm-hmm.
And what was I going to say? And then, and one of the last things I saw in the vision was that I was at her wedding day, and I was like not happy she was getting married because I thought she was just going to. I just thought marriage was horrible because of my own experience, and I sort of ruined that day through my crappy, behavior of. I just wasn't being a very supportive mum on her
Mm.
wedding day, and I remember her saying to me, "Oh, shut up, mum!" And this is going to make. There's a point to this, like the way she spoke to me. I later had a vision that Ava, so I didn't know her name at the time, the daughter, but Ava is actually my youngest sister, Alex. And I am a mum figure to my youngest sister, Alex,
Mhm.
because I'm 15 years older than her. And when I listened back to this QHHT session with you, because you record it, and I let my mum listen to it,
Mhm.
and I told her about how I'd made that connection that Alex was Ava. And she said to me, "Do you remember what color Alex's hair was when she was born?" And I said, "No," because I was only 15 at the time. She
Yeah.
said, "We literally described it as peach fuzz."
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's just like
Wow.
amazing. And then I later saw that Ava died a young woman in the 80s, I think it
Mhm.
was. No, actually, it was just before Alex's birth in 2001. She died in a car accident. And at the time, I told my sister this. She's 23 now. So she was only like 20 at the time when I told her this. But at the time, she was putting off getting her license. And I didn't even think about that. I told her
Mhm.
that she died in a car accident.
Yep.
And I was like, "Oh crap, probably shouldn't have told you that because you're already scared of driving." But you know what? This is not an exaggeration. Within a month, she went and got a piece, and then she's never looked back.
Wow. Yeah, good on
So
her.
it's like she subconsciously
Mhm.
had, like, because she had a real fear of driving. Like, she was learning how to drive, but it was really, I mean, she'd been learning for years, and it was really sort of
Yeah.
stretched out and prolonged. And she was really putting off getting a license. And it's like she subconsciously made that connection that the fear might have been associated with dying in a car crash from that
Mhm.
life.
Yes.
And then, honestly, within a month, we've been
That is
pushing
real.
her,
Mhm.
and her friends have been pushing her, and her
Mhm.
partner at the time. And then,
Mhm.
yeah, just all of a sudden she turned around and she said, "Oh, yeah, I got my license."
Yeah, awesome.
So,
That is so great.
it's pretty amazing that these recollections sometimes not only have a profound effect on you, but
Those around
on
you.
your loved ones. So, yeah,
Yeah,
and that wasn't the
definitely.
only life that I saw with you.
Yeah, oh, there was so much. Oh my gosh, your session was amazing. There was so much details that came through.
Yeah. The other one I had, and there's some stuff from this life that I saw later on as well that makes total sense. Is I was a man who lived in Nevada during the
Yes.
1800s. I remember this because his name came through so clearly, Pete
Mhm.
Davy.
Mhm.
And I was saying that before we actually go into the hypnosis part of the QHHT thing, which you'll probably explain soon, is that you or you can now if you want, like you sort of have like certain questions that you ask people, don't you?
To get people into hypnosis, you're asking? How to get people into
Yeah, because one of the
hypnosis or
questions, like you asked,
yeah,
like I
yeah, we
said,
get
you asked about the trauma, like, or not trauma, but like, did I clash with anyone in my family? And I said
oh,
about
yeah,
Geordie and that how
in the
that came up.
interview
But you also
section.
asked
Yeah.
me another question about
Mhm.
something I wanted to know that I wanted to heal.
Mhm.
And it linked directly to that life, and it makes sense why I have that physical sort of, it's sort of like a disability in this life. And that was, I'm extremely short-sighted. Very, like, seriously, I'm nearly legally blind.
Mhm.
And it ended up linking to Pete Davies' life because the way he died is that I was married to Geordie again. He was my wife, Martha, and he was a much better partner in this life than
Mhm.
as George. But he was always sort of going on to me about, "Oh, we need to make more money. We need to make more money," which is funny because in this life, he's like that. And I've had other visions of Geordie in other lives, even a future life. I've seen Geordie as my father, and he's still obsessed with money.
Right.
So that's a
Mm.
lesson that he's still needing to learn. So I'd taken this sort of new, sort of dangerous job. And it's so funny because I didn't even know when I was seeing this vision, I was explaining to you what was happening, but I was like, "Is this a thing? Like, was this a thing?" And when I went home and Googled it, it was a thing. And my job was to put the brakes on the train because it was the 1800s and trains were
Mhm.
fairly new. So they didn't have a braking system inside the actual train, like where the driver was. I remember explaining it to you, on the side of the train, they had a lever that you had to pull up. And when I went home and Googled it, it was a job. And it was a job called a brakeman. That was a literal
Right.
job.
Right.
So, and that was quite dangerous because you were hanging off the side of a
Yes. Yeah,
train.
yeah. On the
Yeah.
outside.
So what had
Not where
happened
one would wanna
was,
be.
No, yeah. And I was like, I just like, wow. So that was an actual thing. Because I remember seeing the
Mm.
lever so clearly and pulling it in the train going, "Er," to, brake.
Mhm.
And
So
basically, we've been taken over by highwaymen and were robbed. And
mhm.
I wasn't shot by the highwaymen, but the train sort of jutted to a stop. I think they made the carriages misalign, like the train derailed essentially, and the carriages collided. And I'll never forget this because I saw it so clearly, and my head popped like a watermelon. That's how he explained it. And I remember him
Yeah.
saying, "No more Pete Davey," and it was just, it was pretty funny.
I
He's like,
remember
"No."
that too, yes.
Yeah,
No
it's just
more
funny. He's like,
PJ.
"No more Pete Davey," and he sort of explained it was like trying to put a watermelon into a vase. That's
Mhm,
how, like, the
mhm,
pressure.
mhm.
But the link to that is that he was saying that his eyes literally popped out of his head, and
Mm.
that's like part of the cause of my very short-sightedness
In this life, yeah.
in this life.
Mhm,
But something that I later found out that I haven't had a chance to talk to you about is that I saw who the highwayman was that had robbed us and killed, like, murdered all these people. At the time, I was in a job and I had this new boss, and this new boss was so horrible to me. She was really jealous of me. She was threatened by me because I had her job before she
mhm.
came. And I didn't have the university qualifications to do that job in a permanent capacity. But if I did, I would have had that job. So she knew I was a threat, and she knew that the only reason I didn't have the job is because I didn't have the qualifications. So she sort of made my life hell for all of 2020. And anyway, it came through that she was the highwayman that killed
Oh,
me. And I was like,
right.
wow, no wonder I hate you then. I think you sort of
Yes.
you ended up sort of killing me. But do you know what the funny
Yes.
thing is? And I know this sounds like people, who are listening and everything, you're like, yeah, yeah. Like, seriously, from when I had that realization, for some reason she just left me alone. She
Mm.
she just left me alone because I don't know. I don't know. I just had the realization, oh, okay, that's
Yeah.
why we're at loggerheads with each
Mhm,
other.
mhm,
And God knows what else we've done to each other in past lives. That's the only life I've
mhm,
seen of that she's been in. And I don't
mhm.
have anything to do with her anymore. But yeah, she was the
That's
cause
so
of my
interesting.
my death.
Yeah, right.
So, and then when I saw that, and I could sort of, I guess I just became a lot more gentle towards it
Mhm.
just naturally. And
Yeah, and
yeah,
then there
she
was an
just started
energy
to leave me
shift.
alone.
Yeah, yep, yep.
And just was like, I wouldn't say she was super nice to me, but she was
Yeah.
definitely amicable and
Yes.
nice. So
Yes.
it's like the energy had
Mhm.
changed between us.
Definitely.
Yeah, something else interesting that happened in that life that I had another vision of, which is really cool, that not many people really know about, is like the reincarnation of animals. So
Mhm.
Pete had a horse named Black Beauty, and she was black with white socks. And I don't think I saw that in the vision with you. I saw that later, and that's my dog now, and her
Oh,
name is
right.
Betty, and
Oh.
she's a pug,
Mhm.
and it's sort of like Black Betty, so Black Beauty, Black Betty, and she also
Yeah.
has white socks. Yeah, so she
I love
followed,
that.
like, it's a really beautiful, and Betty's not the only animal I've seen follow me from another life.
Mhm.
I've also actually I've seen Betty have a past life as a golden retriever, but I've also seen me have a past life as a golden retriever. It's one of my actual favorite
Oh.
visions I've ever had of a past life because I was just so free and happy running and
Mhm.
scratching my back on the grass and stuff. And I
Beautiful.
haven't seen the link, but I would assume that maybe we were related. We might have been in the same litter. Actually,
Mhm.
no, you know what? My higher self is saying that. He's like, of course you know this.
Yep.
Of course, if you're having these thoughts, that's what it was. So Betty and I were in the same litter. So
That's so
thr-
beautiful.
it is through having this ability. I've always been an animal person, but like some people are like really animal people, like my husband.
Yes.
But since I've especially seen the animal reincarnation stuff, I've grown so much closer to animals, and
Mhm.
I have this great love now for animals because you can reincarnate as anything. They're just
Yes.
as everyone's equal. Animals,
Yes.
humans,
Mhm.
we're all the same. We're all source. We're all the same energy, and no one's lesser than anyone else. And
Just a
it's
different
unfortunate.
form that you're gonna come in through. Yeah.
Yes, unfortunate some people, they just automatically treat, animals
Yeah.
as being a lesser form just
Mhm.
because,
Mhm.
I don't know, they don't talk like humans and things, but they're not.
Mhm.
I mean, I always make the joke, and Johannes is telling me it's not a joke, it's because you knew it, that
Mm.
my dog, I've got 2 pugs. My other dog, Biggie, and I've seen him in another life. And my husband says the same thing. We call him Human Dog because he's got a face that looks like a human. And I've
Really?
always said he was a human in a past life. And I tell you what, from having that vision of being the golden retriever, I can so see why he's reincarnated as a dog form as well. Because being a dog is awesome, it's so happy and free and just full of love. So I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I fully get if you decided to be a
Mhm.
dog and, or he could be still a human in other incarnations, like they're all
Yeah.
simultaneous, aren't they? But
Yes.
yeah, the biggest, we'll get back to the lessons because that's the most important thing. The biggest lesson I learned about Pete Davey is that, he had his wife in his ear going, oh, you need to get this job,
Mhm.
and needs to earn more money, and we could be doing better. But they had a really good life. It was a simple life, but they were happy. They had these beautiful kids. They lived on this beautiful ranch, like this beautiful
Mhm.
farmland and stuff. And I just remember so clearly when I died and I was rising above and looking at the scene of what was happening. Like I could see people being murdered and stuff, but I was already dead. I was out of my body.
Mhm.
All I remember really clearly is the regret of I had it. I had the dream
Yeah.
life. I
Mhm.
had this dream life, and I would still have this dream life if I didn't take this dangerous job. This dangerous job killed me, and
Mhm.
that lesson has stayed with me. Like sometimes, where we live, it's a big mining community, and
Mhm.
I've got heaps of friends' husbands that work in the mines, and they earn tons of money. And
Mhm.
I, before this, used to be to my husband, "Oh yeah, you should get a job in the mines," blah 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 blah
Mm.
blah. But now I'm like, you know what? It's not worth it.
Not
It's
worth it. Yeah.
so not worth it. We
Yeah.
have a great life. We really, really
Mhm.
do.
Mhm.
Money is not everything.
Mm.
I've had 80 visions, guys, and I've never had a vision where I've died and I thought, oh, geez, I wish I had more money,
Yeah.
or
Yep.
geez, I wish I had these physical things. It's
Mhm.
always been like a regret about the people in my
Mhm.
life and
Mhm.
the love, that
Mhm.
I had for them. It's got nothing to do with physical material things. It's got to do with connection to
Mhm.
people. That's
Mhm.
it. That's the only thing that has gone through my head. And I've seen myself die so many times in different incarnations. And that's the only thing that's really, stuck with me that,
Mhm.
especially in that life, like the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And at that time in my life as Ashley, I was on a career track to earn more money.
Mm.
Um, and obviously my psychic ability has sort of really changed me as well, but it really did made me take a step back from that in my life too, because I'm like, the most important thing is the connections you have with people and the time that you have with them. And money
Yes.
can't buy time. Money
Mhm.
can't buy time and connections with people. So I stopped caring so much about,
Mhm.
not that I was ever money hungry, but everyone to some extent wants to,
Of
live
course.
comfortably.
Yes.
And I stopped caring so much about that sort of aspect of my
Mhm.
life and just enjoying what I had and just
Mhm.
enjoying what was my present circumstances. So, yeah, thank you so much
Oh,
for
you're welcome.
the incredible experience. And like I said, I completely forgot, but I had, like, right at the end, you had asked me all these things because you were just talking to my higher self, and he was mentioning other lives, and I was like, "Oh, I totally forgot about that." And when I was reading it last night, because I transcribed the audio, I totally forgot that about the life where I was in an orphanage. And actually, I haven't written it down yet, but it came through because I was like, "Oh, I wonder where that is." I was like, "Geez, I've had a lot of lives in England." And they're like, "No, no, no, it was in Belgium." So I was a Belgian. I was in a Belgian orphanage, and I've always had this, as Ashley, I've always had this incessant need to please people. Like I've just got to be like the best person ever to people and please them in any way and impress them and stuff. And it was because in that life as an orphan, I lived in an orphanage and I was getting older and I had to convince these people to try and adopt me, you
Mm.
know, just
Yeah.
like to be the best version of myself in the hope that I would be adopted. I was like, God, I'm getting teary now. It really hit me hard. I was like, well, that makes so much sense.
Mm. So many aha moments from your
Yeah,
session.
yeah. I
Mm.
was like, that makes so much sense. And had a very cathartic experience last night.
Wow. And this
Yeah,
is 2
just,
years later, can I just say, like, to point out to
yeah,
listeners that that's the amazing thing about quantum healing sessions is that not only do you get so much from the session, like the day of, but you're now still getting information and healing and release and so much 2 years
Exactly.
later, which is why it's so important to, keep a hold of your recording and to listen to it again and to think about it. And
Yes.
um, mm,
And I'm
I'm
so
so
grateful
happy
that
for
you did
you.
that. Thank you. I'm so grateful that you did that for me. And it's even funny, like even things he was saying in it, I was like, wow, this is really resonating with me. He was mentioning like my right ear pain and right hip pain, and I'm
Hmm.
literally have that at the moment. I'm like still, and I didn't even think about it, but he was talking about in both of the lives that I was like those two lives that came through really clearly. I was gritting my teeth, and I still have a bit of an issue with gritting my teeth. And it's like, oh wow, it's just funny the things that you carry from other incarnations that stay
Yes.
with you. It's just
Yeah.
little things like that are just crazy. I'm going to ask you a question now about your experience with seeing me in the seat, because you have re-listened to it recently too. I could talk
Hmm.
about it, but what was it like for you seeing me? Because something that and I want you to talk about this is that something that was different for me from other ones is that, especially with Hilda, I started speaking German, and
Yes. I wanted to talk about that actually
yeah,
because
go you
so
explained it. Yeah,
so too, last night and the night before, can't remember now, lost track of time, but
yeah,
I dug out your recording and wanted to listen to it to refresh because it's been 2 years, so
yeah,
of course I couldn't remember all the details, but I do remember how humor came through your session because I
yeah,
think it's really important for people to know this too, that it's not all super, super serious, these sessions. There was so much
yeah,
humor that came through these characters that you connected with and learnt
yeah.
from. And sorry, I forget now. Did you want to talk about one in particular, like Hilda or Pete
I was
Davey? Or
just like,
they're both so
I just wanted
humorous.
to, because I know that you were surprised that I was speaking in German too, and I just wanted to
Sorry, yeah,
say
the German thing. Yeah.
to you in particular that I don't know German. I learnt
I
German in
wanted
year
to ask
seven.
you.
I
Yes.
learnt German very sort of beginner basic German in year seven,
Right,
but the way it
yes.
was coming out of my mouth, it was like my natural tongue.
So natural.
Because I
It
just remember,
was.
instead of
Yes.
thinking like mum, I went
Mhm.
mutti straight away. Or
Yes,
if I,
yes.
instead of saying goodbye, I went choose
Mhm.
straight away. And I
Mhm.
remember you would have heard me. I was cracking up laughing at myself. And then
Yes.
I would say things in German, and I'm like, I don't even know
Mhm.
what that means. And you would say to me, well, ask what it means.
Yeah, because I had no idea. I don't speak
Yeah,
German.
I didn't either. And when I went home and Googled it, it did make sense. I think something was like Breckenmeyer or something like that. I don't know what it
Mhm.
was. And I think I
And
said it was,
it wasn't just one words either. Sometimes you did, like, phrases.
yeah, I know, but I
Yeah.
honestly can't speak German. It's
I thought that was
crazy.
so cool, and it just goes to show, yeah, that this information can come through in this way, and it obviously came through that way for a reason too, you know?
Yeah.
So you could then go look it up and also get that extra confirmation of just how cool this stuff is, the
Yes, I
information
looked up
coming
so
through that
many
your
things
conscious
that,
mind doesn't know.
yeah, like even like Nevada, I saw it so clearly, and I saw
Mhm.
mountains, and I'm like, well, I don't really know much about Nevada, but I know it's a desert. Why would there be a mountain there? And I
Mhm.
found an image of exactly what I saw. I was
Yes,
like,
that's so cool.
it is so cool. It's just amazing. I wish I had the ability to draw so I could draw what I was seeing,
Yeah.
because, but it's really great that in this day and age that we do have Google and we can Google things and,
Oh, yeah, that's come in handy a lot of times for many different clients.
yeah, and make those
To just
correlations.
fact
It's just
check and just
nice to
understand. Mm.
also have that confirmation that you're not just making it up, and
Yes.
you're not
Yeah.
crazy. A lot of people think it's their imagination, but
Mhm. Mhm.
that's that is how a psychic ability works. It
Mhm.
works through your imagination. You're not making it
Mhm.
up. You're just seeing what is actually has occurred,
Spot on.
in
And
that
I think
life.
it's really normal, and it's important for people to know this too. That's a really normal human thing, and a left brain thing to go. Did I just make all that up? After everyone finishes their session,
Yeah,
pretty
that's a
much
good point.
everyone goes, "I just feel like I made the whole thing up." And I'm
Yeah,
like, "It's okay. Everyone feels that way, and it's just a normal thing that as a collective we all think that at some
yeah,
point." Like even me, I'm a trained practitioner, and when I go in as a client, I still at some part of me still thinks, "Did I just make that up too?" And I'm doing this all the time. So it just
yeah,
goes to show how we're all just wired like that to have some sort of doubt in us and to think,
Yeah, that we judge it, don't we? We look at
yeah,
it
so
externally and judge
it's
it. But I remember reading Brian Weiss's book, and this really resonates with me. He didn't say it like this, but I'm like,
mm-hmm,
this is how I say it. And so I'm mincing his words, but he basically said, who cares? Who cares if
mm,
it's made up? If it's given you some sort of healing, isn't that the main
oh
thing?
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, look at that. I'm telling you now, I don't think my little girl would be here if I didn't connect with Hilda.
mm-hmm,
You know, it was the first time I could finally let go and,
yes,
and go, you know what, even though motherhood is a beautiful thing, motherhood's not
mm-hmm,
all that it's cracked up to
oh
be. And I
yeah,
was at peace for the first time in my
mm,
life. I was at peace with not being a mum.
that's huge, such deep healing.
Yeah, and that's the power of surrender, I suppose. And as soon as I could let that go, and this is what I've been saying, and I've been finding that the whole point, especially with me, this is why I've got this sort of very unique ability that I can see so many lives. Is the whole
Mm-hmm,
point of it is to let go of my other incarnations. Johannes, my high self, was even saying to me, when I was listening back to the track the other night, he was even saying, don't get so caught up with it because I tend to, especially it was in the middle of that. I remember I said I had to take a pause because I had to shake off the energy of Pete Davey because I just
yes,
become
I
them
remember,
and I
yeah,
forget who Ashley is.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Sometimes even days after, I will still have their mannerisms and things. It's crazy, and even
right,
walk or talk like them, or have
mm-hmm,
cravings for food that they ate.
okay,
I had this one that I'll talk about in another podcast with the acupuncture lady I saw because I had the vision on her table. But I had this one,
mm-hmm,
and I was an Indian lady. After it, I had the biggest craving for dal. I've never eaten dal in my life. I wasn't even sure what dal was. I went I went into town in Newcastle to Derby Raj or something and went and got dal. And I reckon I ate dal for like 3 days straight because it just was like, oh my God, I've never eaten it before, but I was just in
wow,
that energy of
yeah,
her.
that's so
And she
interesting.
obviously ate that and liked it. And I'd never had it before. I didn't know what it
Wow.
was.
And so you obviously
I never,
liked it, you enjoyed it?
Yes, I liked it, but I just knew I just had this knowing in my soul, deep in my soul, I like dal. I'm gonna go and eat some. And I went and ate some. So
That's
like even though
hilarious.
that's cool, you need to be me. It's really important that you be present and shake
Mhm.
off that, because they're still they're in that timeline doing their thing. You need to be in your timeline doing your thing.
Most
And
definitely. That's what I
if
tell
you
people.
associate with them too much,
Mhm.
take on too much of their energy,
Yep.
and the point of it is to let their energy go,
Mhm.
so you don't take on their trauma. So
Yes.
it's not a great thing to sort of constantly think about it.
Yeah, and then one of the main points of why people come to a quantum healing session is to get information about their soul, like to remember things,
Yeah.
and to help them for their lifetime now. Like you said, it's all about
Yeah.
you've got to heal for Ashley now in this life. So let's keep coming back to Ashley and Ashley's journey. So you can. It's great to learn about all these things about what you've done in another life, but it's really important to heal from that and to be able to move forward in the best way possible and focus on your journey now. And it all is interconnected. It's never,
Yeah.
people don't ever just come in and get random lives and then it's got nothing to do with their list of questions that they come in with and their problems that they've got going on, in this life right now. It's
Yeah.
always all connected. So it comes rolled into a nice little package for people,
Yeah.
their session.
You've
So,
just go. I was going to say you've just segued into a perfect question for me, but go for
okay,
it.
no, you go because I was about to go on to something else.
Oh no, I was going to say. So you've talked to me about your own healing journey.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would love to hear about your own healing journey because you're explaining to me that's how you got into QHHT.
Yeah, look, everyone lately seems to be asking me, "How did you get into this line of work?" And so, yeah, here we go. So, your question was, "How did I self heal?"
Yeah.
Okay, so the short answer, well, actually, there is no short answer. Let me explain it because it's so multifaceted. It's a whole body mind answer, to be honest. So I
Beautiful.
followed my intuition first and foremost. Okay, so what did we explain what I had? I had Crohn's disease.
No,
I
we
don't I
didn't.
don't know if we
Yeah.
actually mentioned that. So if you know what that is, or even if you don't know what that is, this thing called Crohn's disease is an illness that doctors today say can't be healed. And at the time when I was diagnosed, I actually didn't even know anything about what Crohn's disease was. However, I followed my intuition first and foremost, which told me that I could heal. So I had a really strong intuitive thing come through. The specialist was saying, I'm so sorry, this can't be healed. You just have to sort of live with
Mm.
this for the rest of your life and be on these steroid drugs.
God.
But even though they were telling me that it couldn't be healed, I had this really strong intuition telling me that I could, even though I had no idea what this thing
Wow.
was.
Yeah.
So that was probably the first time where I really, um,
Sorry.
you're right, are you okay?
Yeah, too much talking, I think.
So logically, I had no idea how to even heal or what even Crohn's disease was at the time. But deep down, I knew I could heal, and it was a very strong knowing, and it was my higher self and guides,
Mm.
telling me that I could heal. So I was obviously motivated by this feeling, this urge of knowing that I could heal. And I spent all of my free time researching about health and wellness and alternative ways to heal. And I came across Bruce Lipton's book. A lot of people have heard of The Biology of Belief. And so I learned about how powerful our minds are and that we can actually change our biology with our mind, which is huge. Like, some people would think that's crazy, but I proved it to be true because I did it. So, like, I used visualization and I used affirmations every day, focusing on the outcome I wanted, which
Oh,
was to
wow.
heal, not, because sometimes we can accidentally get caught up and focus on the wrong thing about,
Yeah.
just the disease. But to heal, you have to actually focus on what outcome you do want, the healing of it. So I was, visualizing what a healthy bowel looked like, because Crohn's disease, for those of you who don't know what it is, it's a inflammatory bowel disease. And I had no idea, what a healthy bowel was meant to look like. And so Google to the rescue again, like you with your
Yeah.
sessions, don't we just
Gotta
love the
love
internet
Google.
and Google? I looked up what a healthy bowel looked like, and I was visualizing that every day, many times a day. And I was doing affirmations every day, focusing on that healing outcome, which was obviously to heal it. And I also implemented a chemical free lifestyle. So, like, eating only natural foods and using only natural products on my body and around my environment in the home, because I learned about, like, the detrimental effects that chemical and toxins had on the body.
Yeah.
And I also used energy healing and visualized white light entering into my body. So I did all of these things many times a day.
Wow.
So it really was a body, mind, spirit effort, along with obviously, having persistence, courage, and determination. And I've been cured of that disease now for 12 years, had
That's
no
amazing.
symptoms or anything. And, a lot of people think, oh, yeah, whatever, you're just in remission, it'll come back. But, 12 years is a really long time. And to be
Yeah.
honest, even, I mean, I count those 12 years after 2 years of healing. And to be honest, I think I really completely healed within 1 year, but I just, kept doing my thing. And even to this day, look, I still, have quite a healthy lifestyle, but I can eat anything I want. So I've come a long way. So,
Wow,
but
that's
I was very
amazing.
strict for 2 years, completely,
Yeah.
um, completely strict for 2 years. So yeah, I hope my story helps people to understand how powerful, human beings are and what we're capable of, that we do have the power within to heal. And I'm not saying, we're here to then be able to heal everything, because everyone's here on a different life journey. And some
Yeah.
people are meant to, on their soul path to get a disease and to, to not heal in that way. But I definitely think it's important that people know that you can, that it
Yeah.
is possible.
I'm so glad you said that. That is so true. Like, sometimes you carry, like I said, traumas from other lives
Hmm.
that, you've got to let go of and heal in some way. Other times you sign up for it.
Yes. To
Sometimes you
learn
go,
things, to understand things. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. You might have been on the opposite end of it, that you've cared for someone with like a condition like that.
Hmm.
So in the next life, you're like, oh, I want to see what it's like to actually have that.
Yes.
What
How to
they
live
went
it.
through. Maybe you
Yes.
resented caring for them or something.
Yes.
So you wanted to go on the other side and see what they went through, or
Hmm.
you know, just there's so many little things that could add up to why you have these things. I recently wrote a post about, I am very short statured and I am overweight, but that links to so many things from so many lives. It's not funny. Like, it's people who know lots about reincarnation. It's a common thing that if you've suffered sexual abuse in a past life, that, or even in a current life, that you'll put on weight. But that was just one facet of it. There were lives there where I was quite skinny and timid, and I was told that I needed to bulk up and be big and
Mhm.
strong. So I kept wishing that I was big. So I sort of got my wish in this life, but not exactly how I planned it. Or in another life, I wish that I've had several lives as a monk, and I wish to be like Buddha. And so I sort of have like I'm this little sort of round person now, like Buddha. I wanted to be a little golden Buddha. And that's my last name, Golden. So I got that wish
I
too.
love that.
Just little things like that. Or I've been told that like in other lives I've been quite tall, and I've used that to intimidate people. So I've had that sort of power
Mm.
taken away from me, and I'm now
Mhm.
short. So there are so many facets that go into why you are the way you are. And it's definitely not just to do with this life.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, of course things play a part in creating disease and stuff in this life, but it's could be from, tens, 10 or 20 lives, or 100 lives. It's all these elements, like I said, it's that's like Eckhart Tolle calls it's the pain body, and it's just learning how to shed that and let it go,
Mhm.
um, to heal yourself. And you might have set out, you might be like, wouldn't it be like, Hannah has told me, like for example, my sister just got gastric bypass surgery, right? And that's a way that
Mhm.
I could go to try and lose weight.
Mhm.
But he's like, no, no, no. I set this up because I want to make it a goal that I want to try and lose weight energetically. Like that's what my higher self
Yes.
wants to do. So
Mhm.
that's a cheat way. Don't do it. I'm not saying like if you want to do that, that's fine. But for
Mhm.
me, he's
Mhm.
like, if you do that, you're just going to have to repeat this lesson in another life.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know what I mean? So that's not the goal for me as Ashley,
Yes.
like as my
Yeah.
incarnation.
That's it. We all have our own goals and our lessons to learn on
Yeah,
our
exactly. So you could
path
have
for
set
this
up
life.
the
Mm.
Crohn's disease thing for
Mhm.
God knows what reason. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So
Mhm.
I,
Mhm.
I love that you've just touched on that. So yeah. So from that, how did you get into QHHT?
So that's what I've been saying recently is, people go, "Oh yeah, how did you get into this line of work?" And again, it's well, okay, so the short answer is it's my destiny, like it's my life purpose to help
Yeah.
to help others. But the long answer is that I started a career as a high school teacher. So I taught in schools for almost a decade.
Wow.
Teaching and helping others came naturally, and I knew I was meant to help others, but I also knew intuitively that I wasn't meant to stay in the schooling system for my whole life. So during the time while I was teaching, I became ill and learned how to heal myself, like I told you about the Crohn's disease. But also during that time, I also learned about consciousness, the power of the mind, other civilizations, energy and frequency, and different healing modalities, one of which was quantum healing, QHHT. So, and yeah, I also studied a little bit of numerology and found out that my life path number is a 33. So, if you're unaware of what a life path number means, it's basically the blueprint of your life's journey, which you
Oh
can find
wow.
out from your birth date. Yeah. And so, someone born with a life path number of 33 is known as a master teacher. So, they're known as healers and spiritual teachers, showing others how to connect to their own heart and consciousness. So, and one of the greatest lessons for a 33 is to face a series of obstacles where one has to heal themselves before they can exercise their power of healing others. So you can hear how that correlates to the Crohn's disease and
Yeah, definitely.
other things I have healed, which can be another time.
Yeah.
But that's been one
That's
of
an
the major
unusual
things.
number to have though, isn't it? Like mine's 9. Like I thought that was sort of
Mm.
they're mostly just like 1 to 9, aren't they?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's many different numbers that you can have, and
Yeah.
numerology, like I said, it gives you the blueprint to your soul's journey. And just talking about you being a 9 and how earlier you kept saying a lot that you had to let go of like all your other incarnations and focus on
Yeah.
Ashley. And did you know that a life path 9 is, yeah, it says that. Like if you look up what it
I
is,
didn't
it
know that.
says,
No, I just knew it was
says
humanity.
that you.
Something about being a humanitarian, which does align with
Yes.
who I am.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like a life path number 9, it's drawn to careers that align with a desire to create a better world and help others, a humanitarian, like you said. So, you've been a school teacher and you're a psychic time traveler, so helping humanity from many different
Yeah.
angles.
True.
And a life path number 9, it's like a highly evolved, you're a highly evolved being, and you're destined to be like natural leaders. So you're obviously going to be, leading like spiritual teachings through what you're doing now.
Oh, wow. I hope
Yeah.
so. That's the goal.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
here for. Like, that
Yeah.
you're here for the QHHT. This is, like I said, this is not just, I'm not learning this just for fun to go, oh, wow, this is cool. It's for a
Mhm.
specific purpose to teach others about the healing power of connecting with other lives
Most definitely, and
and,
it's your destiny. That's what you're here
yeah.
to do. And that, like I said, it's cool that it's shown in the numbers too. But of course, a lot of people, they come to a quantum healing session with questions, and one of the main, like, top questions is usually, what's
Mm,
my purpose in this life? And so they'll get that from their session, the answers, when they connect to higher consciousness. But I just think it's really cool too how it's literally shown in your numbers as well.
yeah, that is really
Mm.
cool. I didn't
Yeah.
I didn't know that about my life path. At
Yeah.
all. So with QHHT, you're saying that, that's one thing that people come and ask you, like,
Hmm.
and I think that even I think I asked that question of what's my life purpose at the time. And
Yeah.
it was funny because the things that my higher self was telling me to do, I'm doing now. I'm starting to
Hmm.
obviously publish my
Yes, I
work and
love
stuff,
that.
which is
Yeah.
good. And I'd honestly forgotten that he told me to
Mhm.
do it even back then, 3 years ago or two
Yep.
years ago.
Yep. That's amazing, and I'm so glad you're following, the
Yeah.
guidance of your higher self, and you're doing
Yeah,
it
well, thank you for
because
helping
you
me get
can.
there and
You're
facilitate it.
welcome.
I'd love to hear about sort of any other benefits that you feel that QHHT has for people.
Oh, there's so many. So one of the main benefits is that it helps people to realize that there's more to them than just this one life, and that there's more to them than just their physical body.
Yeah, so true.
So many people think, oh, this is their only life, and they're running around like mad trying to do everything they can and stressing out and thinking, oh, I've got to achieve it all in this life. But yeah, it helps you to realize that you are consciousness having a human experience in a human body, and we are multi-dimensional beings, which I know that you probably talk about a lot in your
Yeah.
podcasts and on your page. So for some people, it helps them to not fear death anymore, because I think that's another huge thing of a lot of people
Oh, definitely.
um,
I've got no
fearful of
fear of
death.
death anymore.
Yeah,
Zero.
yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And that's so great. That can be so healing. So when people come and they go through the process of, seeing and experiencing another life, and then, to get to the next part of it where we connect to higher consciousness, they've got to go through the death scene and find out how they
Mm.
pass. And everyone says the same thing, that no matter what they're shown, no matter what kind of death they have, whether it's something very gentle, like, passing away in a bed and,
Mm.
of old age and, some sort
What,
of
having your
sickness or
head crushed
something,
by a
or
train?
having, I was about to say that, or poor Pete Davey,
Yeah.
and to the other extreme.
Mm.
And you could laugh about it too. Like, it's
Yeah.
all very,
He could laugh about it, which
yeah,
was good. Yeah, well, we're the same person, I guess. I hear, it's all the same. But yeah, it's good. I was about to say that, or maybe I'm getting a bit ahead of myself here, but no, I think I do feel this. Not, I wouldn't say I'm looking forward to death. Obviously not.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
But I'm not, I've like got that much, like I've lost so much fear of it.
mm,
It's like, oh yeah, okay, I get to go home sort of thing. You know what I mean? That
exactly.
movie's
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
What's next?
Yes. And
Yeah,
that's so
that's,
healing for a lot of people, to be able to walk away from their session going, oh, okay, wow, I don't fear death anymore. Or, if they've come in and they've lost a loved one and they're really missing them. And sometimes
yeah,
they come through, their spirit comes through and they connect with them. And that's really healing too, because they really realize, wow, yeah, their spirit, they're still around,
yeah. You
that,
keep your soul family. They just play different roles.
yep,
Exactly like
yep.
my dad was not spiritual at all. And it's really
Mm.
funny through my spiritual awakening, he had a spiritual awakening.
Oh, really?
My mum has been spiritual for my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously I said that she read like that Brian Weiss book like 20 or so years ago. I didn't know
Yeah.
that until I started telling her about my experiences.
Mm-hmm.
But She'd read all these sort of things, my dad had zero interest, like, nah,
Mhm.
whatever, mum's doing that sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And mum started telling him about what was happening to me. And I don't know how it happened, but he started reading Brian Weiss. And
Wow. I wonder
he
what made him
had
pick it
this
up.
massive sort of spiritual awakening from it. And he had told my mum and then me that it brought him a lot of healing because his mum died when he was young, like maybe late
Mhm.
20s. And he was super close to his mum and he's still not over it. Like it's just
Mhm.
stuck with him. And my dad's 70 something now. And I'm going to get teary because he said it gave him so much healing knowing that he would see his mum again. You know,
Yeah.
you see,
Yeah.
she's not just his mum in this life, that she's been other
Yes.
things and she will be other things. And
Yes.
my dad has changed so much just from reading books about it and hearing my
That's
experiences.
so good.
He used to be a fairly cranky man. My father and I previously did not have a good relationship at all.
Mm.
But now we have a really good relationship. Like I said, I was like, oh, Dad, like I even said just when we were about to record this podcast, he started ringing me. I was like, this is not the right time, Dad. But, previous to this, he would never have rang me ever.
Mm.
So our
Wow.
relationship has changed so much. And I've seen
That's
several lives.
beautiful. Mhm.
Actually, out of everyone in my soul group, I've probably seen lives of my dad the most in different
Oh,
roles.
really?
Yeah, sometimes he's been my dad. Actually, most
Mhm.
times he's been my dad. But sometimes he was once my fiance that left me at the altar.
Oh, really?
And it's funny because he left me waiting and I was just seething that he left me waiting. And
Mm.
like I said, previously I didn't have the best relationship with my dad. One of the things that happened in my childhood is that he wouldn't pick us up on time after school. We would have to
Oh.
like wait. And I remember,
Mm.
and in this life, I was seething that I had to wait for him, and I was like, "Wow,
Mhm.
this makes so much sense. We're
Mhm.
repeating some patterns here." Yeah, it's sort of amazing, just the links that you make through seeing other lives.
Yeah.
Did you? Can you think of any like not necessarily client experiences, but have you heard of any other memorable experiences of QHHT sessions with that you've read about or anything, or your own, or
That's a big, wide question.
sorry,
Should we focus? Because yeah, as you know, obviously the my sessions where clients come, it's all confidential and everything. To
yeah,
be honest, I don't really read upon other like a lot of other people's stuff. I'm so busy doing my own thing.
fair enough.
I obviously do have some testimonials on my website where people have shared their experience and feedback on what's happened with them. And obviously, that some have had some physical healing in terms of irritable bowel syndrome and
Oh wow,
um, like I'm not sure if this one's on my website or not about a gentleman's knees. You know, a lot of older people have knee problems and
yeah,
things like that. Um, there's so many different ways that people get healing. It's not just all physical, but it's, emotional, and there's so many different levels, isn't there? To
yeah. It's not just always physical. It's definitely always like I said about when I linked to that orphanage one.
Yeah.
I had like a really emotional reaction to it.
Mm,
Well, it didn't link to me anything physically, but it linked to me my incessant need to please people. I mean, that's the
yes.
emotional aspect of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not
It's been
always.
wonderful hearing about all your stuff because I didn't even, know of half of the things that
Yeah,
you've said today. So I feel like you've sort of given the viewers a lot of examples of what can come from a session too. Like some of the star seeds who come, they really they feel like they don't know exactly where they're from, and sometimes they do get the answers, and sometimes specifically like this planet and this being and whatever, and sometimes they
mm,
don't. But quantum healing can really help to connect them with their galactic family, and so that's just so huge when you're feeling like, what am I doing here, what am I meant to be doing, and then they realize they're here to help humanity, to help
yeah,
raise a consciousness here and to help humanity evolve, and that they are from somewhere else. And there's so much peace in that, when you just feel so lost or you feel like
yeah,
I'm meant to be doing something, am I even doing enough? And then they get that healing from their session. And a lot of people obviously just get a lot of clarification about their life journey. You know, a lot of people come in feeling really stuck and unsure and confused, or having a lack of direction and not sure what choices to make in their relationships or their career, and of course with their life purpose too. So yeah, quantum healing helps to gain a lot of clarity and understanding and see yourself and your life from a higher perspective, from a different perspective, and that really helps. So there's many different types of benefits. A lot, like I said, a lot of people get a lot of peace from their loved ones, and even just knowing with their pets too, that
Yeah.
they can reconnect with them as well. That the pets
It
are,
was such a beautiful thing for me to discover, and I've
yes.
discovered it in multiple lives now, but something I
Mhm.
didn't even factor in. Something that
Mhm.
wouldn't even cross my mind, you know?
Mm.
It's just really beautiful. And then from that, it's a fictional book, but there's some fictional books. I think what's called A Dog's Journey, and it's a movie as well. And it
Mhm.
follows a reincarnation cycle of a dog that just reincarnates all the time as a dog.
Mhm.
I bought those books for my dad for Christmas because my dad just loves anything about reincarnation now.
Oh, that's so cool.
Every
He's
Brian
totally
Weiss
converted.
book, and yeah, someone who's not spiritual. It sort of annoys my mum. Like, he's been reading all these books, and my mum's like, "I read that 20 years ago. He wasn't even interested."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, but
At
look at him
least
now."
he's coming to
Yeah,
the the party
yeah,
now.
isn't it? I mean, isn't it good that he's evolved though? You
Yes,
know, like,
exactly.
oh,
And she helped him, on his awakening, because she had all the books there, and then when it's the right time for him,
exactly.
it's there for him. So
And then
and
she could
then
also talk to him about it too. I
exactly.
guess she was sort of frustrated that she couldn't talk to him
Yeah,
about it 20 years
yeah.
ago. But
But it's okay,
it all takes time.
everyone in their own time, that's it. And so what
Yeah.
do you think has been, how's your life been different after your QHHT session? Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about? Obviously, yeah.
Like I said, I don't think my little baby girl would be here. No, I know,
Yeah.
not think, I know that
Mm.
it was the turning point. It
Mhm.
was honestly the turning point, having that connection with Hilda,
Mhm.
um, and just letting go and just saying, whatever happens, happens. That would be my biggest piece of advice for trying to manifest anything into your life.
Mhm.
I mentioned that I'm a big fan of Michael Singer, and he says that manifestation is the least spiritual thing you can do,
Yeah,
because
right.
you just let life happen to you.
Yeah.
Like, I would highly recommend to read anything by Michael Singer, by the way, especially the Surrender Experiment. But if you just surrender to what is, you will find that life's pretty great, and you'll find
Mhm.
so much joy in what you have, instead of just everyone's always. I wrote a big post about this recently on my page, that everyone's always thinking, "Oh, if I get this, I'll be happy." And then when you get
Yes.
that, it's always the next thing.
This
Or if I
thing.
get this,
Yes, yes,
but when did the
yes.
if stop?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're not desiring anything outside of yourself,
Mhm.
it's a very famous Buddhist saying that any form of desire or attachment is the root of all suffering. And to me,
Mhm.
that's so true. If you're not desiring anything outside of yourself, um, you won't be suffering, you won't be in pain. And to me, that recollection has just brought great peace
Mhm.
into my life. And um, not focusing so much on that baby is what brought that baby
Yes.
into this world.
Yes. Yes.
It's amazing, you know what I mean? Because it was the first time in 5 years that I was just honest to God, not thinking about it, and had let it go.
Mhm.
Yeah, my life has changed dramatically in the 2 years since I've known you. Obviously, becoming a mother, but
Mm.
just my psychic ability also
Would
just
you say it's
exploding.
yeah, I was gonna say, would you say it's expanded more now since you've had your session?
Definitely, and it's also expanded more since I became a mother.
Yes.
I don't think I've talked to you about this, but my psychic ability mainly pertains to my soul, obviously, and I see
Mm.
other lives. People contact me and say, "Oh, can I get a psychic reading and stuff?" But I'm like, I can't really do that for other people. Plus, I
Yeah.
don't advocate for that. I think that your higher self is you.
Mhm.
It's literally you. So
Mhm.
no one knows yourself better than them. So just learn how to connect with them. If you want a
Yeah.
psychic reading, ask yourself. But then it's also to me too that if you're wanting to know what happens in the future, that's also desiring something. You should
Yes.
just be happy with what's now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's
What's
what
in the
they all say,
now.
don't they? The spiritual teachers say,
Yeah.
focus on the now. Be in the
Focus on the
now.
now.
Be
It's
present.
so
Be
true though.
mindful. It is.
It's so true. What was I saying? Yeah, just how my spiritual, like my psychic ability is just absolutely exploded, and the things I've
That's
learned
awesome.
and seen. And but yeah, the QHHT, it did give me what I wanted, that I did get that really in-depth perspective, and I connected with my higher self on a different level, and I've kept that connection
Mhm.
now. I have a really strong connection with my higher self. I talk to my higher self daily. Like, I don't really, I don't know if I said this on this podcast or to you the other day, but I don't really identify as myself as Ashley. I identify myself as Johanna. So I really know that
Mhm.
we are multidimensional
Yes,
beings. We're just an
yes,
actor playing many, many, many
yes.
parts.
Which I think is one of the main things you're here to meant to help and teach is that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. We're not just, you're not just you. You're not,
Yeah,
you, that's just one aspect of your soul.
that's it.
You
And I
know,
think
you,
once people really actually understand that and take that in, it'll really help to shift their perspective on this current life and help them to live um, differently. Once you
yeah.
understand things from that perspective, it really changes um, yeah, just everything about your life. The way you see it, your goals could change. Your what you want to just how you live on a daily basis, right?
Yeah.
Would
Even
change.
like the fact, like for me, right? There's things that I've wanted to do in my life that I've not had the opportunity to do. I've
Mhm.
always had the biggest passion for music,
Mhm.
always, since
Mhm.
birth.
Mhm.
It's one of my favorite things in the world, but I was never afforded the opportunity to learn a musical instrument.
Mhm.
But I've seen that in other lives that I'm quite a talented musician in more than one life,
Mm.
and I think, well, I don't need to be doing it in this life
Exactly.
because
You
I'm
can't
doing it
do it
in
all.
those lives. That's
Yeah,
so
that's it.
cool.
Yeah, exactly.
So even that has given me peace,
Peace.
knowing like
Yes.
there's been a life that
Mhm.
I would never have guessed that, and I have no skill in this life, especially that I
Mhm.
was a trapeze artist. And it's quite
Right.
funny because the high
How
school I went to
interesting.
was like the New South Wales state champs, like forever. They've always been in like gymnastics and trampolining. And,
Mhm.
I'm fat now, but when I was younger, I was quite skinny and I had the perfect like gymnast body. I was
Mhm.
tiny and very petite. And my teachers always thought, oh, yeah, she'd be so good. But I suck
Yes.
so bad. Yeah, I've seen a life where I was a trapeze artist and it was so beautiful. The most beautiful visions for me in other lives are when I'm in the now. I'm just
Yeah.
in the flow of life and not thinking
Yeah.
about anything else.
Yeah.
And I just had this beautiful moment of being up on the bars, and I remember pulling myself up and feeling like the weight in my muscles and stuff like that. And that's not something I could do in this life. And especially as a teenager, I sort of resented that because it was
Mm.
sort of expected of me. But I was like, well, I don't need to do it because I did it. I've done it. I'm
Exactly.
doing it in another life.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure that other lives, if they knew me, well, they do. I know one.
Mhm.
I've
Mhm.
met one,
Mhm.
and she's actually had a QHHT session, and she was saying, yeah, but I didn't, my ego was getting in the way and I didn't get as much out of it as you. And I'm like, you don't need to compare your experience to my experience. I
Yeah,
was
that's
like,
really important that people don't do that.
she's
Yeah.
one of the incarnations that's really good at music. And I was like,
Mhm.
I suck
Mhm.
at music, but I'm
Mhm.
not going,
Mhm.
I suck compared to you. I'm
Yeah.
thinking I don't need to be good at it because I'm
Already
good at
doing
it in
it.
your body,
Exactly.
or I'm good
Yeah.
at it in Joseph's body or whoever's
Mhm.
body that I'm doing that
Mhm.
in, or I'm good at tennis. Or it's really funny. I'll just leave one more story that I was saying that sometimes I take on their energy. Well,
Yeah.
I remember I had this really. It was linked to the incarnation that got left at the altar, and one of her favorite things to do was play tennis. Now, being short, I suck at tennis, but I remember I somehow got thrown into the situation not long after that I had to play tennis, and I was on fire. And I was like, "What is happening to me?" And I think it was because I was channeling the energy of Rin. That's her name. It's a Japanese name
Mhm.
that it translated into English is Lin.
Mhm.
Yeah, and yeah, like it doesn't matter if you don't have talents and abilities in this life because you probably have them in other lives. And that's because it be boring to do the same thing in every single
So
life?
boring.
So
100%.
boring.
100%.
You're here to have different, and that's the whole reason. And I'll get
Uh-huh.
into that in another podcast. That one of the reasons why high self might decide to have simultaneous lives, meaning that they might decide to have more than one incarnation in the same physical timeline. So that means that I've literally met myself in another body, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I also know that there's two more of me that live in England. I haven't met them and I don't want to meet them.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously I can't go back and meet Pete Davey because he's in the 1800s,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't meet Hilda because I think she died. Yeah, she died in the 1980s, which just sort of before I was born, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I can't meet them because they're in different timelines.
Mm-hmm.
But there are people, incarnations in my physical timeline. I've forgotten the point what I was talking about with that. Do you remember what I was saying?
I don't know.
I was just saying that. Oh, I can't remember.
I can't remember. I know. I feel like we're both getting delirious.
No, that's okay. Yeah, I can't remember what I was saying about. Oh yeah, we've got different abilities. Like I know I haven't met
Yes.
him, but I know he
Yes.
exists, right?
Yes.
There's a version of me that lives in England.
Mm-hmm.
He's 6 years younger than me. His name's Brian, and
Mm-hmm.
he's really tall. And I'm really short. It's just to have different experiences. It's just like a really quick way to level up.
Mm-hmm.
Life's a game. Life is literally like a video game, and it's just multiple characters
Mm-hmm.
being played at the same time. So why would you go through the same experience? Why would
Exactly.
you might have similarities. Like I share similarities with every single one of my
Mm-hmm.
incarnations, whether it's a physical thing or a behavioral thing, like even like the teeth gritting, like I said, or
Yes.
Pete Davey, when he thinks he grabs his earlobes. I remember saying he had dirty earlobes, and I do
Mm-hmm.
that when I think I grab my earlobes. Like you have little weird
Yeah.
connections to them, or you have similar interests. Sometimes you might be
Mm-hmm.
interested in something, and then like one of your past life selves or future life selves has the same interest. Whatever it is, music or sound healing or tennis or whatever. You might have the same, not that I have that interest in this life, but you might have a similar interest, but then you also have different interests because you're here to experience different things. You wouldn't incarnate in the same timeline. It's just like to split the jobs.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, I've got all these things that I want to learn, right? It's basically the practical part of a university course. That's what
Yes.
incarnating is,
Yes.
right? And it's like, okay, I've got all these practical things that I've got to achieve. Oh, I'm not going to be able to achieve that in one body,
Mm-hmm.
all right, let's have 4 bodies going at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and this body can do all these things. This body can be a psychic,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and do these things. This body can be a rapper because that's what Brian is. He's not like a rapper, like that's not his job, but that's something he's passionate about. That's something that Brian and I have in common. Not rapping, but I'm a very good writer.
Mm-hmm.
Before I started writing about this sort of stuff, one of my biggest passions is writing poetry. And, rapping is basically poetry to music, isn't it? So, and then there's another
Definitely.
incarnation that exists now that's very good at music, so you've got those similarities, but,
Mm-hmm.
they're different. It's to share the workload, essentially. You want to be, doing different things. Otherwise, it's like you wouldn't double up on the tasks, would you? Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you had a job list to do at work and you had to split them between colleagues, you wouldn't say, all right, you do this exact same job as me. It just doesn't make any sense, does it?
Mm-hmm.
You've got to tick all the different jobs off
That's it.
the list. Well, that's how I see how
100%. I think
incarnations.
it explained that really, really well. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, how incarnations work. I've got one more question, or no, 2 more questions to ask you.
Okay.
What's the most important information that you've learned so far spiritually that you think?
Definitely that we're all one.
Mm.
Yeah. And when I was searching, for so long, like about who we are and where we come from, and what's the truth? What where your soul gets to a point where you're just searching and searching and searching, and you really, really want to know, where we came from. What's the go with all this? What is this reality? Who are we? Where did we come from? And that's what all the spiritual teachers say, right? We are all one. But what does that mean? Like we're all from the one source, divine,
Yeah.
God, universal consciousness, whatever name you want to put to it. I think that's the most important thing that I've learned.
I think that's the most important thing I've learnt too.
Yeah.
And I've definitely experienced the oneness through meditation and things.
Me
and
too.
It's,
Yes.
Yeah,
the
it's
feeling,
amazing.
the love,
Yeah.
the love energy that comes through.
Yeah.
Yes.
I even experienced it when I was with you, didn't I?
Did
I was
you
in
in the
that
session?
Zen. Yeah, in that Zen
Yes,
state.
you did.
Yeah.
Yes. You had a little break in between, I think, Pete Davey and
Yeah,
Hilda.
when I was trying to shake off Pete's energy. Yeah.
Yes. And
I was in that Zen
yes.
moment. And, that's what I was saying, that Hilda, I had experienced those Zen moments too. you really like, I wrote a post about it recently. Nothing in life bothers you. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you just think is just so perfect and beautiful and full of love.
Mm.
And that's what it is, because that is the, I'm going to say, resonance. I don't know what this is, what I mean about being channeled words. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, here I am looking at it from the outside going, does that word really make sense? But if I'm being told this word, it does. It's the resonance of the energy that we are, that
100%.
that's the vibration we are. We are made of love. That's the
Yes.
only energy that really exists,
Yes.
is love. And it's in everything.
Mm-hmm.
So when people are looking for God,
Mm-hmm.
God is everywhere. You're God.
Mm-hmm.
I'm God.
Yes.
Plants are God. Every sort of thing on
Mm-hmm.
earth is God,
Mm-hmm.
because we're all one,
Yes.
like you say. That
Exactly.
is the most important thing to learn, which is hard for people to understand, where, sorry, we're split into different incarnations and
Yes, it
things.
can get confusing because the mind gets in the way too. And I think when you're at a certain level of consciousness, you can only understand it from that perspective. And so once, humanity evolves and, consciousness expands, then you can start to understand more. That's
Yeah.
the whole point of it too, is um, having these experiences with different
Yeah.
perspectives and understanding.
Yeah, but we also live in, like, the dimension that we live in on Earth is a
Mm-hmm.
is a duality
Very,
as well.
yes,
That's the whole
yes.
part of it.
Yeah.
It's a dichotomy, which
Mm-hmm.
basically means that we can be one and separate at the exact same time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So I have obviously loved my experience with you, and I would love others to experience what I've had with you, because it was such an amazing thing. How could listeners book in for a session with you, or find out info about you, where to go to,
Mm-hmm.
and what to do if they want to see you?
Yeah, well, probably the best place to go to is my website. So www.elizabethleeqhht.com.au. And then you can, have a look around there, watch some videos, read through the information, and then you can contact me on the contact page or email me directly, and all the information's there on my website.
Awesome. Yeah, and I just wanted to mention that Elizabeth is based in the Newcastle, Lake Macquarie region of Australia,
Mm-hmm.
because I've got listeners all over the world.
Yes.
So, yeah, if you are local to that area of
Mm-hmm.
Australia, please check Elizabeth out. I'll also put your website and stuff in our show notes. So, guys, if you there'll be a link to click on, so she'll be really easy to find. So,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much, Elizabeth, for coming to share your experiences and letting me explain mine.
Thank you so much for
Because
having me. It's been a
that's okay.
blast.
I thought it was so important to, it wasn't, I have these experiences and stuff, but especially when I go to Reiki, or if I go to acupuncture, or if I go to QHHT, it's not just me that's, I guess what I'm saying is it's been facilitated by you, and I want to show my gratitude and express to people that, that these healing modalities are so much more than what people realize, and they can just bring you so much comfort and understanding and healing, and they're just a wonderful thing. And I think part of my mission is to share this information with people, so they know where to find these, things like QHHT. People might not have even heard of that, and
Mm-hmm.
no, I certainly hadn't until I got this ability, and it's such a wonderful thing that is literally life changing. And it can just help you so much, and like you said, give you purpose in life,
Mm-hmm.
and just give you that, um, piece of, why you're here.
And
That's
that's
really what
huge. Yeah, that is
yeah,
huge. And
yeah,
everyone always gets what they're meant to get. So
yeah. That's
that's
a really good
that's that's
point.
a really main point there, that everyone's so different on their own unique journey, and everyone gets what they're meant to get in their session. So it's really important. You don't need to go and look up a whole bunch of other people's sessions and listen to all their stuff, because that's not really going to help you, because that's their journey.
Yep.
And you need to focus on your own journey. And when you come along to a session, either with me or another practitioner, then you're going to get what you're meant to get for your soul journey.
Yeah, that's so true. And that's what I say to people too. That's one of the biggest things I say, is that, the best way to heal yourself is by doing it. And this, Elizabeth's just explained that she's done it herself. The best way to heal yourself is to do it yourself,
Mm-hmm.
But we're very lucky that we have people like you to help facilitate that within us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bit of a team effort. So
Definitely.
yeah, but always trust in your higher self, and they've always got your back. It's you.
It is.
Yeah, it's the most important.
It is your soul. It is you.
Yeah, it's your soul.
Mhm.
It's you. It's the most important thing, connection that you have in your
Mhm.
life. So,
And to
yeah, thank
trust
you
it,
so
trust your
much.
intuition. Thank you. Thank you so
Exactly.
much again for having me, Ashley.
That's okay. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening today. Check me out on Facebook at my page Psychic Time Traveler and my other page, The Real Truth About Twin Flames.